So I don't know if you've been keeping your finger on the pulse of all of these goings on, but two of the most popular distributions are coming up to a release. And I say that by the time you hear this,
well, one of them's already been released.
Yeah, the Fedora one is already out there, and the Ubuntu one is slated unless something happens.
Unless chaos happens, and it's there's some going on. I'm not saying there isn't. Should happen. It should happen Thursday.
So wait.
Today's Wednesday. That's
show stopping type.
Maybe.
Okay. All right. So Ubuntu is probably released by the time you hear the full episode. And if it's not, then it's definitely released if you're watching this as a single. But Ubuntu 25.04 is coming out, and Fedora 42 have already been released. And while we don't normally do the thing where it's like, oh, here's the new stuff that came out in these distributions, we're going to kind of do that.
A little bit.
Yeah, to lead into a larger conversation that I think is going to take us a little further in the show. So, Dan, you're closer to Ubuntu, so
a little bit.
You do have the answer to the finger on the pulse question was yes, because you're involved. So, what's going on in Ubuntu land this time around?
Well, other than the chaos that might not get it released.
Can you divulge the chaos? Is that a
well? There's some installer issues, right? And so that's one of the things that you got to have. You got to have that perfectly working when you spin the images, because there's not really a way to update that necessarily unless it's on the image because it's the installer. So some things. The main Ubuntu installer is fine. That's not impacted. It's the folks that use Calamares, and it's just there's some things that aren't quite right. And they're working on it, so it'll. I believe it'll get fixed. I'm casting a little drama, and there shouldn't be probably.
Okay,
so let's put it that way.
Cool. So let me ask you a question then. Because I suppose being part of the release. You would know. Would Ubuntu proper release if one or more of the flavors have a showstopper?
If it doesn't impact the main flavor or any of the other flavors that use that installer, they could release before the other ones. They could.
Okay. So
that would be a really drastic situation probably. So I think I've only seen releases delayed like once, twice, maybe.
And would this be for the flavors or for main Ubuntu?
Well, one of them was like all of everybody, and it was an issue that impacted everyone.
Right. Now that one I can totally see, because if it's going to impact main Ubuntu, then obviously they're not going to ship.
It was just an LTS point release, but there was some reversion things happening that just it got broke, and the only way to do it was to hammer it out and respin.
Okay, so but if Calamares was busted, main Ubuntu would ship, and Ubuntu would wait until the Calamares fix happened.
It could go that way. That was discussed. I know.
So this is actually something that could happen.
Oh yeah, it could. I think that would be pretty drastic. They were looking at how to fix it best, and I think they came to a conclusion before we got on air. I don't know where we're at right now, but
okay. Well, because I've been consuming all of your attention, and you have not been helping triage. I get it.
Yeah, so I don't know where that's at, but I think they were getting close.
You heard it here. This is. See, having Dan having his finger on the Ubuntu pulse is really handy, because I have dumb questions like this all the time, and Dan gets to educate me every time.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think they were trying to fix something, and then that broke it entirely. And so I think if they didn't come to an actual fix, they were going to just go back to the one that had like a couple of blips. Rather
okay. So
like
they were
I think
minimal.
they were actually going to revert images, and if they didn't get it fixed, and
Got it.
basically I think minimal install might be broken out of that potentially.
Interesting. Okay,
but that's not the end of the world because you can still install, right?
Right.
So.
Exactly. So, at least as far as main Ubuntu goes, their installer is okay, and there are a whole lot of improvements. There,
a
the
ton
ones that
of improvements. Yeah,
there was the one that caught my eye was the wording changes on like which disk you wanted to install. It's more clear when you're going to wipe your entire disk on accident. So, for those of you that don't read any of that stuff and just next, then that's not going to impact you at all. You'll still wipe your disk.
True.
But for people that take a half a second, read that message, it's going to be a little more clear that you're about to do something really, really drastic. And same with resizing and all of that kind of stuff. So it'll be more clear, which is really, really good.
I was just going to say with the installer, I think there's been some more translations that have happened too.
Ooh, good.
Because the more time that it's out there, the more translators can get in there and get some of those translation things done. So, and that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, because it gets installed in a lot of different languages.
Exactly. So notification grouping, I think this is kind of more of a GNOME thing, but this might be an Ubuntu specific implementation. So like instead of just having a massive stack, you take a more modern approach, like a lot of phones are doing, Android and iOS now. You'll have similar related messages will be stacked on top of each other, and then you can kind of expand that to see what's all been going on, which is great. I think obviously modernizing the desktop is a good thing, and getting it closer to what people are used to is always a good thing. Because then there's less kind of culture shock going from one device to another.
I think it's a better experience too.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I've been playing a whole lot more with on my own devices is the digital well-being stuff, specifically screen time, which I have actually, I'm pretty proud of myself. I've whittled down some of my screen time on some of my devices.
Well, that's good.
And using that digital well-being stuff actually helps with that, right? Like being able to keep track of it will actually help you know whether or not if what you want to do is reduce screen time.
Listen, I already know I do too much of it, so probably should implement some of this in my life.
Yeah, we're still in the multi-hours, but it is less multi-hours. Like it is fewer hours than before. So a win is a win. So it's good to see that this kind of thing is actually making it into some of the desktops too, because if you don't have like that fully immersed, everything is the same on every Mac that you use, then your screen time is skewed. You're missing devices.
Oh yeah.
And by having all your devices kind of keep track of this, then it's really easy to kind of have a really good view of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, if you need to count them all. I mean, this one goes around with you everywhere, right?
Right.
And so you're always on it, but you got to count the one that you're sitting in front of as well.
Yeah, that's the one I'm focusing on right now. I don't count my game time as screen time, which is incorrect.
Yeah.
I probably should. That would probably also make me feel bad. But anyway, it's good to see that it's making it into Ubuntu, and then there's HDR support is not on by default, but there's a whole lot of HDR screens out there that are just not looking quite right. So the HDR support is now enableable.
Yeah.
I do wonder, I see a lot of people doing screen sharing on Windows and stuff like that on HDR screens, and all I see is like a washed out, terrible version of what they're looking at. So it's not perfect on the other platforms, but it's good to see that we're starting to make some progress on it.
Yeah.
On the others. So, is there anything happening specific in Ubuntu land that's interesting?
I'll say the Qt stack has been upgraded a few times, and so that impacts Ubuntu and Kubuntu.
So that you did pull in some of the vibe coding business that.
Well, I don't know about that, but
maybe.
I mean, very very up to date there, which is cool. And it's got the latest LXQt version, because the new one actually comes out in the end of the month. before May. So we're just a little they're just a little behind our release, which is actually kind of a good thing because it gets you time to get it ready for the next release
25.10
throughout the whole cycle. So the next LXQ will be in the next one, if you will. But I mean, right now we're on the latest that's been released.
Very cool.
And so that's going to be pretty great. Just some other bug fix things. That we were working on our installer and installer prompt and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of focus on that, and unfortunately that broke. But I think we're okay for the most part.
Contingencies are in place. You are all right.
Yep. No Wayland this time.
But that is coming for LXQ, which is
it's available now.
Like,
so if you ran Arch and you had a Wayland compositor, you could do the Wayland thing. And actually, Fedora they kind of beat us to this. They have some sessions. I don't know how much testing has been done on it yet either. So I mean, it's probably not time to adopt that necessarily because there are some buggy things. Depending on which, Wayland compositor you pick.
Right.
It looks like we're going with Mir.
Interesting.
At least that's the front runner right now. And Fedora is kind of doing the same. So like Fedora came up with the Mirway spin.
Whoa.
So that's a Mir compositor, Wayland session sort of thingy. And I think that's their nod there too, is what they're going to pair with LXQ. They have some other sessions written too. So, LabWC, Wayfire. I think there's a few of them out there that are interchangeable. So whichever one you swap in should work. And so we just need to do some testing on that and actually get some sessions written and get that implemented.
I just like hearing that Mir is alive and well and is actually going to be implemented instead of thrown away in the into the dumpster of history.
There's been new releases of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, so check it out. And like I said, there's a whole spin over in Fedora land that is just
that's pretty cool.
Mir. Little cooperation or cooperation or whatever.
Hey, I like
we're calling that.
I like it. But speaking of Fedora, they had their answer to everything release, Fedora 42, and I caught a couple of highlights. They're doing some installer stuff too, but first I wanted to talk about Cosmic. And this is a desktop that I've been waiting. Live streams ago, I installed it. We kind of tinkered around with it.
It's not quite totally released yet, but I mean, it's getting there. Yeah.
Yep. I did buy a device to make the next live stream where we do something like that less yellow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing, but now I have a better streaming device for that. So it's going to be really interesting to see when the full Cosmic release comes out and both Pop! OS and Fedora hop on that. Really just
I got some other news for that too, but go ahead.
Oh, and just kind of how well it performs and whether or not it's going to convince me to drop the last vestiges of Cinnamon that I've got going on. I will stay on Cinnamon forever because it's familiar, it's stable, it's exactly what I expect. It works exactly the way that I need it to. So I'm not looking for an off-ramp or anything like that, but
listen, we were just raving up Rust there a minute ago, and well, guess what? Cosmic's written in.
All Rust. It's all Rust. It's all the same talking point too. We all just talk around the same exact one talking point.
Yeah, it seems like, right?
Yeah, we theme it up.
So my other mention on that is it looks like from the release announcement on the Manjaro Summit thing, which is their semi-immutable, they're calling it.
Yeah.
That is going to have a Cosmic spin too.
Oh, okay.
So
there's going to be plenty of ways to ingest.
Yeah.
Cool. Plenty of ways to ingest the Cosmic. So the new installer, And I got beef with this thing. I got beef with this whole idea.
I need to try it. I have not tried it. I'll be honest with you, because like I've got it installed. I haven't, and I did an update, and I'm on 42.
But you didn't experience.
I didn't experience the installer. No, sorry.
So
that's on my list.
I got beef with this, but we'll talk about it real quick. So the new installer is a more linear installer, where a lot like the Ubuntu, a lot like pretty much all the installers you're used to.
Every single one of them. Yep.
Right. And I think this switch to a new installer that is not Anaconda, that is not hub and spoke style, is bad.
Okay.
And the reason I think it's bad is, well, first of all, the old installer was fine. Everything that you needed to do was presented to you in a very, very easy to follow kind of way.
You think so?
I think the reason that everybody disliked it is because of all of the Microsoft stuff that you have done prior to coming to Linux. Microsoft wizards and these installer wizards and the idea of flow through has been defined by Microsoft, has crawled its way into everybody's little cranium, sat there, laid some eggs, and it blossomed into everybody disliking Anaconda because it wasn't linear.
That's not my exception with it. I do have, I disagree with you a little bit.
Have I made the rest of the internet mad as well, is my question.
I hope so. At Leo, that's the guy.
Still wrong?
Hear me out. I don't mind the hub and spoke thing. I don't mind going to each component and doing the parts that I need to do and coming back to the main one. However, I think there's some parts that when you get into are just not intuitive as to what I need to do. Okay. Especially when it comes to the discs, that part. If you just want to totally nuke and pave, it's not necessarily, it's just not intuitive, I don't think, to everyone.
Right. But you don't have to trash the entire hub and spoke model to be able to make a better disk implementer.
I think I agree with that, although people aren't accustomed to that style thing. So.
You said it, though, so now you agree with me, and I agree with you agreeing with me.
Yeah, no, okay, I'm good with that. You're probably right. You didn't need to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
I'm just saying,
to fix
the Microsoft bug. The Microsoft has convinced you the right way is the Microsoft way, and everybody is ignoring that fact.
But there were some things that they needed to address, I feel like. And
yes, I agree that.
Going to this linear type model, I think helps address those. It makes sure that you hit every part in a sequence, which... That's kind of good, maybe. I don't know. I feel like the other thing is you can do some of the linear bits as other things are happening in the background, too.
Mm-hmm. True.
Because, like, the Ubuntu installer does that. Like, it'll start on your disk stuff and still ask you questions about other things. And so you can keep proceeding, and so you're not just watching the slideshow go on, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I mean,
shaving off 30 seconds on the installer. So
well, I mean, it feels like an eternity when you're sitting there watching it. Let's be real.
No, you go make tea. Come on.
Until it asks you a question and you didn't answer it. Yeah.
What is this? 2002, where it takes forever to install on a hard disk drive?
Oh well, there's one of the things we did improve in Ubuntu and some of the other flavors is. Some of those install times down to like 2 minutes.
That's kind of insane.
That's
is that on a hard drive or is that on an SSD?
It's SD, but still, that's like crazy fast, right?
Yeah. You tell me 2 minutes on a hard drive, and now I'm really impressed.
Less than 5.
How do you do that?
I'm going to say less than 5.
Yeah. See, the way that you do that is that you install onto the hard drive like a super duper base minimal system, and then just make it seem like the first boot is really slow, but it's actually just downloading and installing everything. See, I've got
like
ideas.
Gen 2?
Kinda. Yeah. I've got ideas. They're all up here, and I can help you avoid agreeing with Microsoft all day long.
There's ways.
And it's not by creating a new installer for Fedora.
I mean, but I guess that's where we went. So now we got to make that better.
There are other ways. And you're right. You're right. I will only complain about this for the next 6 months tops. And then I'll be, by the next Fedora release, I will stop talking about it. I will
just keep upgrading, and then you won't have to worry about reinstalling.
See, true. And that's probably why I'm going to do it. I have to experience it once
same
to kind of figure that out. And then I will take one freebie, but that's about it. So speaking of trying it once, that's where all this was going. Turns out
we were going with it. Yeah.
This entire segment was not to enamor you with all of the cool things that we know about a software that we're not actually using. It's to tell you that we're going to make a couple of changes to the format of the show, and to do that, we're going to use Fedora and Ubuntu and their new release to kind of bring all of that to fruition. So, bad news first. I don't think we're going to see another history this season. And that's mostly because I got a lot of things going on in life, but not enough things that will prevent me from, sitting down and having a chat with Dan and then putting it all out for everybody. Not that dire, but things that are going to really consume a lot of my time. And the other thing that consumes a lot of my time is putting all of that history together.
Yeah, research for that.
Right. Yeah. And so I'm not saying never history ever again, but just for the rest of the season, and then we're going to reevaluate as we come up to season 6. When is the right time, or what is the right thing to talk about history-wise?
Yeah,
definitely. But I do want a fun project to do that won't be quite as time-consuming, and we've been talking about a couple of things, and one of those things is like I had mentioned, like, wouldn't it be cool if we really kind of deep dive into some of the new releases that are coming out? And I mean, when you know it, Fedora and Ubuntu just popped out, and so
there's some good things to go test.
Right. I mean, I want to see what that notification grouping looks like. I want to see what Fedora Cosmic is cooking up.
Same.
And I want to see how they implemented the Microsoft way to install.
Yeah, I got to test it once. Yeah.
So we'll get there, and to do that, we're going to spend a lot of time on an Ubuntu and a Fedora, and then we're going to kind of peek in every now and then until the end of the season and see kind of how that's going.
I think we want to piggyback on some of the histories that we've already done too.
Very true.
Because we talked about snaps and we talked about Flatpaks, and I guess if you're thinking about those and where do you find those, you find snaps in Ubuntu and you find Flatpaks over in Fedora land,
which we've also done the histories on. So
we did do the histories on them.
If you haven't heard the history of Snap and you hadn't heard the history on Ubuntu or Fedora, it's time to go back and check those out. Sure, you're missing the what happened last week, but you're going to get the real beginnings, the real middles, and the real what it's like today. So one of the thing that I know that we wanted to test out, I had mentioned, I don't know if it was on a live stream or if it was on an episode, but I am just very curious to really kind of explore that idea that I hear spouted all of the time. One of the biggest reasons that some people don't enjoy these containerized style packages is that not only are they massive in the first place, they tend to balloon over time. And I never kept track on Linux Mint to see how big my Flatpaks are, but they are not a huge part of my entire disk. So what I wanted to do, and what I'm going to force Dan to do with me, is keep track. So start on a new install. Keep track on Fedora. I want to focus on the Flatpaks. On Ubuntu, I want to focus on the snaps, and just kind of keep track of at least more than a month of what those packages do, when they update, how big they balloon. Kind of just check in on it every few days. Run your updates and see what's happened to the size of what's going on. And one of the interesting things about that is that you can't just look at a top-down view of your disk. You can't just look at your disk and be like, oh, it's bigger now, because you've been browsing on the internet. There's browser cache, and you've been downloading a picture, or you got a video, or you're doing video editing. You're using your machine.
Yeah.
And that also generates disk space.
Yeah, you got to dive into where these things are getting installed, and where because it keeps a copy of the last version. You gotta be looking in the right directories to find that stuff.
Exactly. And so one of the other things that I wanted to explore was kind of how to do that. How to separate what's the adage? Separate the wheat from the chaff?
Chaff?
Is that it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So so how to give, and I'm sure there are tools out there to do that, and that would just make my life really, really easy. But I'm a bit of a nerd, so I will probably end up using baked in tooling to just kind of strip back and see what I can see.
Yeah, those core utils that we talked about.
Oh, that's right. That's right. What is it going to be like to have a GNU-less distro? No, not Alpine. It doesn't count.
Yeah. So
yeah, looking ahead, I think that's going to be something that
I agree.
I want to that I will explore in lieu of a history. I'm sorry, but they will be back. I am still absolutely 1,000% interested in doing histories. So that is something that we're definitely going to continue doing.
I guess on that note, if you got a history in mind that you want to see us come up with, maybe for next season, let us know.
Yeah, and we've done a lot of the big name distros.
We definitely have.
I think pretty much all of them. We may have missed one or two, but I think they're pretty much all out there.
We did at least the independent base, that a lot of things are spun from.
Yeah, so now's a really good time to suggest not just distros, but tools and technologies and other stuff. It does not even really, honestly, have to be directly Linux related. I'd like it if it was Linux adjacent at least, but honestly, I'm a bit of a history nerd, man. I'll do. I feel like I could do any kind of history at this point.
Well, I feel like anything computing related, at least. I mean, try to get it within that box, I suppose.
Well, I won't give you the history of the wheat and the chaff, but I will give you the history of something technologically related. So yeah, there you go. We'll put it in that box. If it's technologically related, I'd like to hear what you'd like to hear. And that would just give me the excuse to go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole and then spend about 12 hours in archive.org.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As if I need an excuse, but I'll use it as an excuse. It'll be fine.